I had just left the Pediatric Cancer Center, where I worked for 6 years as their staff psychologist. My husband and I made the massive decision to try to get pregnant with our third child. I wanted to quickly get a mammogram out of the way because I imagined I would be pregnant, then nursing. Life was filled with possibilities and excitement for the future. I was 37 years old and already mommy to 2 young ones at home, doing the mommy thing, finishing work, running errands at the grocery store, picking up kids from a play date. And then the bomb hit. I had a tumor. They suspected breast cancer. Life would never be the same. For any of you who have ever heard those unforgettable 3 words, "You have cancer," you know the sheer terror that eviscerates your body, permeating every cell of your being. You enter the unimaginable world that you never thought you'd be part of, and you keep thinking that the nightmare is not real. For a long while, I felt like I was spinning in a kaleidoscope, being swung all around, frantically trying to hold on to an anchor. Everything seemed chaotic and blurry, and I was struggling to find my sense of stability. I was waiting for the dust to settle, to reclaim my identity, to get back to my familiar life, just to get back to where I was. You may have heard people talk about the gift of cancer, but gifts, like cancer, come wrapped in all different packages. As a psychologist, I've worked with people who have had a spouse murdered, a child killed by a drunk driver, a father commit suicide, and an adolescent daughter turned homeless heroin addict. Let's face it, there's nothing exciting about gifts like these. It's like the gift your dog leaves for you under the dining room table, compounded by 10 million. The question is, what do we do with gifts in life that we don't want? Well, the first thing to do is return the gift. Bring it back, right? Who wants the gift? When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I struggled deeply with my sense of changing identity and beauty. I was only 37 years old, and I lost a baby and my breasts within a 2-week time period. I was a perfectionist at the time, and nothing about this new identity fit into the category of perfection. I struggled with a sense of shame, disfigurement, and devastation. Yet one of the most salient lessons I learned along my cancer journey is that we are all imperfect. From a privacy standpoint, I really didn't want to talk about my surgery, and I only shared details with my closest friends and family. Yet one of the most important things I learned is we will all meet someone in our lives who needs to hear our exact story, to not only feel less alone, but to know what is possible. What you go through is a gift to someone else. If we return the gift and don't integrate it into our identity, we lose out on the important gifts that we could have gotten. The second thing to do with an unwanted gift is to exchange it. Bring it back to where it came from. Ding, 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 ding. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. I'm not interested in this. Do you have anything maybe a little less traumatizing? We can all compare our lives to other people's lives like we do on social media. We can wish to trade our misfortune for somebody else's, but none of us get through life unscathed. We will all experience pain, if not today, then at some point in the future. We don't always get to see somebody else's scars or the battles that they're facing. The third opportunity for an unwanted gift is to regift. This can cause us to withdraw from the world, feel bitter, cynical, take our anger out on others, or develop a pessimistic view. This can ultimately change our humanity. If I was given the choice to have cancer myself or re-gift it to those that I love, I would choose cancer myself 1,000,000 times over. I don't believe that bad things happen to us for a reason, but I do believe that once they happen to us, it is our job alone to figure out how we individually are going to grow from it. In the fourth scenario, we need to ask the universe or the powers that be, I don't need this a second time. Why do things happen to us a second time? Do you remember when you were little and you opened up a present and you screamed out, I already have this! And your parent would quickly run over and say, no, 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 no! You have something similar, not the exact same, or you could always use another one. Well, in my case, I didn't feel like I needed another cancer diagnosis. I felt like I had already learned the lessons. But God or the universe had other plans for me. And not only did I have a breast cancer recurrence 7 years after my initial cancer diagnosis, but I went on to develop skin cancer twice. Now, I'm not that great at math, but that's 4 times, right? Somebody wants to ask me, which was easier, the first or second cancer? And this reminds me of a question that I would often pose to my graduate students when I'm teaching them about death and dying. Which is easier, when someone dies unexpectedly out of the blue, or when somebody has been sick for a very long time and we know it's going to happen? The room is usually divided on which is easier. One causes us to feel a tremendous sense of trauma, and we see the world in an unsafe and unpredictable way, and the other one leaves us absolutely exhausted because we're grieving for so long. The truth is, neither one is easier. They're just different. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I felt like my body betrayed me. I wondered why this happened to me and what I could have done wrong in my life to get cancer. I traded in my Sour Patch Kids for broccoli. I became a clean eater, gym rat, personal trainer, and bodybuilder. I felt like I did everything in my power to stay healthy and overcome. I found it strikingly unjust to have done everything right and to get cancer again. In fact, upon hearing the news of my recurrence, one of my friends said to me, all that clean eating and exercise, you should have been sitting on your butt eating bonbons. I was so enraged by this statement because it resonated. I felt the same way. Yet I later came to realize that had I not taken such good care of myself, I wouldn't have been so in touch with my body to detect my cancer on my own, nor would I have tolerated radiation and chemotherapy better than most. I was told that the odds of my first cancer coming back was less than 5%, so the fact that it did absolutely terrified me. I thought I could die. The difference between my first and second cancer was that the second time I required radiation and chemotherapy, whereas the first time it was surgery and medication alone. The second time, my children were much older, so the conversations shifted in tone. Instead of talking about how mommy had boo-boos in her boobies, the conversations were now about life and death. I remember many patients would lament to me how badly they felt that their children would have to watch them get divorced, or how sad it made them to see their kids have to watch daddy become an addict. I remember this really resonated with me because I worried about how my children would be impacted by a mommy who had cancer. I also worried about how my husband would cope with all of the consequences of a cancer recurrence. Yet I now know that we are who we are, not in spite of the things that happen to us, but because of them. I have deeply compassionate, considerate, sensitive, caring children, and I truly believe that those characteristics were honed by their early experiences. The final thing to do with a gift that we don't want is to stick it on a shelf. It's not much good now, but I'll stick it on a shelf for later. What happens when we stick things on a shelf? We're absorbing, growing, evolving, and integrating critical aspects of ourself into a new identity. We don't realize, even though this can take years, that it's happening. We don't grasp that we're becoming the strongest versions of ourselves, which might not have happened had we not been pushed to grow. We don't understand that every single day we show up, we're developing our resiliency muscle, and we're rewiring the neural pathways in our brain to overcome and cope with adversity. What have I done with my resiliency muscle? I flex my muscles on the bodybuilding stage. And every day, I hold myself up, physically and emotionally, one push-up at a time. And I go through this most wondrous, amazing, awesome gift called life that I choose not to return, exchange, or regift. Hopefully, in life, when we are shaken like kaleidoscopes, we can grasp onto those things that empower us and teach us to grow. Every color beam that is twisting and turning represents another coping technique that can support us and lift us up. And eventually, later in time, we go back to the gift that we put on the shelf. We see that inside the kaleidoscope, the contents have all settled. And what we see is something amazing and beautiful. The hope is that after cancer or any other life adversity, we can be resilient. However, not only be resilient, but experience new growth and meaning, a new way of seeing things, an increased perspective. And we see that we have the capacity to not just survive, but to thrive. Thank you.